We now move to item 11, which is the Strategy and Policy Forward Program Update. So we have Ruth and Denise. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. My name's Ruth Keeling and I'm from the Strategic Advice Unit, and I'm here to present an update on the Strategy and Policy Forward Program. So just a quick recap. This revised Strategy and Policy Forward Program was adopted by the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee in December last year. The overview of the revised program is set out in Attachment A, and it's also up on the screen there. There are 21 items in total, 9 in development and 12 that are being implemented. The program sits within the context of the Council's overall strategic framework, which includes other key documents such as the Auckland Plan, the proposed Auckland Unitary Plan and the long-term plan. The purpose of the Strategy and Policy Forward Program Update Report is to provide an overview of the program as a whole. Detailed progress information on individual items on the program is reported through local boards and relevant committees as usual throughout the year. To ensure that the reporting fits the new revised program, there has been some changes to the approach of this report. We hope that you find this report more useful, and we welcome your feedback on this at the end. Firstly, as agreed in December, we will now be reporting to you 3 times a year in March, July and November. The progress updates, which can be found in Attachment B, are future focused and outline key dates and decisions on the horizon for elected members. Items on the program are grouped by Auckland Plan outcomes. This is to improve alignment with the Auckland Plan implementation update, which also uses this format. And the report also identifies key strategic issues and themes which may impact on items on the program. For example, in this report, we've highlighted the potential impact of the RMA reform announcements on the Natural Hazards Risk Management Action Plan and the Environmental Strategic Action Plan. So in terms of progress, to give you an update, since December there have been 3 items adopted. That's the Community Grants Policy, the Significance and Engagement Policy and the Commercial Sex Industry Policy. In the next 3 months, 3 more items will be brought to elected members for the consideration of adoption, and that's the Arts and Cultural Strategic Action Plan Part 2, which is an implementation plan, the Psychoactive Substances Local Approved Policy, and the Local Alcohol Policy, which is timing, of course, subject to appeals. The last point that I'll raise is that reports on the implementation of individual items on the program currently come to committees and forums at different times of the year, and that we're currently looking into ways to align these reports to provide a more integrated reporting approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, very comprehensive way of setting it out and succinctly indicates as to how progress is going, and we can see pretty clearly what the strategies that are still being worked on and those that have been completed are. So as Dr. Blakely indicated, we certainly don't want to get into more development strategies. No. So councillors, if you've got any questions, or Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yep, my obviously key issue is the Housing Strategic Action Plan, and where, you know, there's fantastic stuff happening in that area, and I want to thank the staff who are involved. But the way we're sort of looking at it is we've done, you know, some of the actions. The reality, though, of this plan is there's still quite a lot to do, and I'm just wondering, and we've added more complexity. You know, we've got the housing accord, we've got the construction of the new CCO. Can we just, maybe without adding anything too complicated in there, just note that we need to sort of review this. It isn't sort of a done deal, ticked off and done. It's a bit of an iterative process, so we need to take what we've got, have another look at it, sort of reshape to include some of the new complexities.
So could I just pick up that, Mr. Chairman, just so I understand what the Deputy Mayor's asking. So you'll see on this diagram on page 39, the under the strategy and policy implementation program, that's at the bottom half of the green box there, we've got the housing strategic action plan is there, and that's under the category of, so the question that's asked above is, does this item require ongoing decisions and or input and oversight from elected members? And so we've said in that case, yes. Housing strategic action plan does require ongoing oversight. We recognise this is a developing and evolving and highly high-profile area that we think does require your ongoing political direction to us, so that's why we've got it in that category.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
As always, Dr. Blakely, that's a great answer, because we just need to be really clear that it's kind of like a work in process, it's kind of under construction, that we're not going to go, right, that's good, we've implemented that, tick off, done.
Yes, that's right.
It's open to ongoing work.
Yes, it is.
Brilliant.
Councillor Webster?
Oh, yes, thank you. This is great, actually. So, under the significance and engagement policy, I know it became effective in December, but as we were talking about on the way over, Denise, are we going to review how the LTP, drop-in sessions and things have gone with regards to maybe looking again at revising that policy? Get the numbers and what have you.
Through the chair, I'm not involved in that, organising that process, but I assume there would be a plan in place to review how the Have Your Say events have gone and whether any consideration needs to be given to the policy, the significance and engagement
sort
policy.
of a little bit like the housing one, I suppose. It's sort of, although we tick these policies off, there are times when we probably have to review how we do things.
So,
That make sense?
So, look, I think it's an agreed principle. Policy needs to be reviewed on a regular basis. So the answer is yes, and we
Great.
build that into our program.
Thanks.
Mr Wilcox?
Thank you. So you refer to the Auckland Plan and the Maori Responsiveness Framework, but the Maori Responsiveness Framework is a Treaty of Waitangi High Level process. I'm just looking at your attachment B here. The strategies and the structured analysis, I'm struggling to see, besides the National Policy Statement on freshwater, that management program, how these other programs would be bringing forward that Maori outcome, those Maori plan outcomes. And
Through the chair, in regards to the Māori Responsiveness Framework, as it is a tool that's used by council to inform the way that we partner and collaborate with Māori, it's seen as needs to be taken a bit of a different approach in terms of how we present it in this report, and we're currently looking into some alternative ways to illustrate how that framework is being integrated through the other items on the programme.
yeah, Chair, because I think I'd really find it helpful to understand how these strategies and processes do affect our Maori outcomes and contribute to that Auckland point of difference as in the Auckland plan. Thank you.
So, Mr Chairman, if I could just add then an example that Mr Wilcox might be referring to is if you look on page 41, which is attachment B, there you'll see Environmental Strategic Action Plan as one of the action plans. We see that as directly aligned to the Responsiveness to Maori program that we're doing in Council on Maori cultural well-being, because the issues around the natural environment are directly connected to Maori cultural well-being issues. So in our work we're doing on Maori cultural well-being, this Environmental Strategic Action Plan directly links into that.
Yeah, Chair, and look, I have no doubt that we're doing it, but I just want to see it in a way I can digest it.
Yes,
Thank
sure.
you.
Councillor Casey?
Thanks very much for this. It's very clear now how we are doing as the parent. What worries me is the CCOs and their strategies, and one came up the other day that we had a discussion around, and that was a stadium strategy. So we have a stadium strategy which was developed by a CCO, and we're saying, we'd kind of like to revisit that, review it, see how it's going, but we don't have a similar table for, I'm not aware of any other strategies that CCOs might be hatching.
investments.
But I do know that one's there and we have a view on it, so how do we deal with CCOs? I thought the parent developed strategies and the CCOs then implemented them.
Well, that's generally the approach, although there are cases such as you quote of the stadium strategy, which has been developed by RFA, and you have the CCO monitoring committee, which I think is the appropriate body to be reviewing things like that come up through the CCOs.
Which we do.
Yeah. So,
Which was a directive of I think the governing body that passed to the
Same as 18.
Regional Facilities Auckland the requirement to look at how they could rationalise the facilities, and that's how they took up that process. I mean, it's not as if they've done it in isolation, because we've had a number of meetings now with Regional Facilities Auckland, and I think we've had quite an influence in directing them as to how they fulfil their obligations that we've given them there. That's the way I see it.
I
yeah.
suppose it's just the report back process for, if that's the only strategy that's out there, the report back process for that in terms of review. Do we as the governing body or the committee review it, or does the CCO board review it and then get back to us? It's an iterative process.
Well, it's called a strategy, but it's probably it's a plan of action, isn't it? Really, now that they're trying to implement what we've kind of requested they do.
That's right. Yep.
So, I mean, that may be something. I mean, I think they'll be coming back to us in the future to talk about, and they have been to us on a number of occasions, haven't they? You know, in the last term of council, and now this term, I think we've talked to them on the plan that they've come up with. So, yeah, thank you. You have another question, Councillor Casey?
No, this is great.
Thank you. Everybody seems to. Any other comments on the format, Councillor Cashmore?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, excellent. I love management by timelines. It sort of gives you a clarity that you can measure things against. And this is probably reflecting my lack of experience in this democratic process, but the identification of the risks around that potentially can affect the timeline or the management process, those risks are things that we can't control or we don't know about yet. Has there been some analysis around that?
So also, maybe I could help that. All of these projects have their own, risk management element to the overall project plan. So, we have a basic project plan that we do for all of these projects. Part of that is identifying the risks associated with it, which could include things like delays in time or budget or
Statutes passed.
Yeah, that's right. So all of that is part of the project management of all of these processes.
Okay, thank you for that clarity, Roger.
Right, thank you. Well, if there's no other questions or feedback, I will move the recommendation, and
I'll sing it.
seconded by Councillor Webster. This will be coming back, what, 3 times a year. So we'll look forward in 4 months' time to the next update. But obviously, if councillors have got any issues or matters they wish to raise, they can come and approach you direct, and or to get some understanding of any of the issues in the document. So seconded by Councillor Webster. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now